Hi, welcome back to Kingdom Moving. Religion, fashion shows. Is that what we doing now? That's what we've been doing, yes. Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in that I rejoice, yes, and I will rejoice. So, Jesus said, now, Jesus turned to address his disciples, along with the crowd that had gathered with them. The religion scholars and Pharisees are competent teachers in God's law. You won't go wrong in following their teachings on Moses, but be careful about following them. They talk a good line, but they don't live it. They don't take it into their hearts and live it out in their lives and behaviors. It's all spit and polish veneer. Instead of giving you God's law as food and drink, by which you can banquet on God, they package it in bundles of rules, loading you down like pack animals. They seem to take pleasure in watching you stagger under those loads and wouldn't think of lifting a finger to help you. Their lives are perpetual fashion shows, embroidered prayers, shawls one day and flowery prayers the next. They love to sit at the head of the table at the church dinners, basking in the most prominent positions, preening in the radiance of public flattery, receiving honorary degrees and getting called doctor and reverend. Don't let people do that to you. Put you on a pedestal like that. You'll all have a single teacher and you are all classmates. Don't set people up as experts over your life, letting them tell you what to do. Save that authority for God and God only. Let him tell you what to do. No one else should carry the title of Father. And he's in heaven. Yes, he is, King of Kings. And don't let people maneuver you into taking charge of them. There is only one life leader for you and them. And that's Christ, the King, the ruler. Sound good. Do you want to stand out? Jesus said. Then step down. Be a servant. If you puff yourself up, you'll get the wind knocked out of you. But if you're content to simply be yourself, your life will count for plenty in God's house. Yes. Frauds. I've had it with you. You're hopeless, you're religion scholars. You Pharisees, you're all frauds. Your lives are roadblocks to God's kingdom. You refuse to enter and won't let anyone else in either. You're hopeless, you're religion scholars and Pharisees. You're all frauds. You go halfway around the world to make a convert. But once you get him, you make him into a replica of yourselves. Double damned is what you are. You're hopeless. What arrogant stupidity. You say if some makes a promise with his fingers crossed, that's nothing. But if he swears with his hands on a Bible, that's serious. What ignorance. Does the leather on the Bible carry more weight than the skin on your hands? And what about this piece of trivia? If you shake hands on a promise, that's nothing. But if you raise your hand that God is your witness, that's serious. What ridiculous hair splitting? What difference does it make whether you shake hands or raise hands? A promise is a promise. What difference does it make if you make your promise inside or outside a house of worship? A promise is a promise. God is present, watching and holding you to account regardless. You're hopeless, you're religion scholars and Pharisees. You're all frauds. You keep meticulous account books, tithing on every nickel and dime you get. But on the meat of God's laws, things like fairness and compassion and commitment, the absolute basics, you carelessly take it or leave it. Careful bookkeeping is commendable, but the basics are required. Do you have any idea how silly you look writing a life story that's wrong from start to finish, nitpicking over commas and semicolons? You're hopeless, you religion scholars and Pharisees. You're all frauds. You puff the surface of your cups and bowls so to sparkle in the sun, while the insides are maggots. You are greed and gluttony, stupid Pharisees. Scour the insides, and then the gleaming surface will mean something. You're hopeless, you religion scholars. The Pharisees, you're all frauds. You're like manicured grave clipped in flowers, bright but 6 feet down. It's all rotten bones and worm flesh. People look at you and think you're saints. But beneath the skin, you're total frauds. You're hopeless, you religion scholars and Pharisees. You're all frauds, all of you. You build granite tombs for your prophets and marble monuments for your saints. And you say that if you had lived in the days of your ancestors, no blood would have been on your hands. You protest too much. You're cut from the same cloth as those murdered and daily add to the death count. Snakes, cold-blooded snakes. Do you think you can worm your way out of this? Never have to pay the piper? It's an account of people like you that I send prophets and wise gods and scholars, generation after generation, and generation after generation. You treat them like dirt, greeting them with lynch mobs, hounding them with abuse. You can't squirm out of this. Every drop of righteous blood ever spilled on this earth, beginning with the blood that of a good man Abel, right down to the blood of Zechariah, Barashan's son, whom you murdered at this prayer, is on your hands. All this I'm telling you is coming down on you, on your generation, Jerusalem. Jerusalem, murder of prophets, killer of the ones who brought you God's news. How often I've ached to embrace your children, the way a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, and you wouldn't let me. And how you're so docile and nothing but a ghost town. What is there left to say? Only this: I'm out of here soon. The next time you see me, You'll say on God has blessed him. He's come bringing God's rules. God's rules. Y'all better know and understand what Jesus said. Listen here, children. Y'all better get right. You claiming to be a spokesman for God, and you are not. You're all frauds. You're all frauds. Rules and regulations. You're not letting them enter because you don't want to. And you're not letting anybody else in. So, no matter what you do, God is the truth. And the truth will always live. God is the light of salvation in all. So no lie can stand in the way of God's love and light to all who proclaim him. Yes, God's truth will live forever. It's eternal. No man can stop the everlasting God. No man. None of your lies can stop God. God's gift is love of life and light of everything. God will stand in all matters of the heart. Light will always kill darkness. Understand this, children. Will always kill it. God is the power. God is the power of all, the beginning and the end. He created everything. How can you stand against that? Judgment is coming. Love will win. God's hearts. Be at peace. Know the difference.